before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go. So you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you. How he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it until your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and takes you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend.
Good morning, friends. That was Daniel Sperry. He's a cellist and poet, artist living in Ashland, Oregon. And he was reading a poem by the poet Naomi Shihab Nye. And I've always found that poem to be difficult because at the times when the poem is really meaningful is the times when it's hardest to receive. But welcome to Journey Home Meditation this morning. We'll get into that in just a bit. But let's do a little breath work today, some shared breathing together. We'll talk a little bit about what that poem brings up. And we'll get into some other poetry today. Today's going to be pretty rich with poetry. I think that's what I mostly want to do today. But I'm Michael, and I'm very happy to be here. Let's just have a few moments of quiet space for breath. So let's move our bodies into a position that we can cultivate openness. Openness is exists on so many levels. It's so multifaceted. And it really is a difficult practice sometimes. But that's why it's a practice. Because it's not something that we're always good at, and it's not something that we can always find ourselves in a position to be able to hold in the ways that we would like. So when we move into this breathing practice, this is an easier place for us to step into creating openness in our bodies. And once we can start to find that openness in our body with our breath, it can become easier to apply that same practice to our emotions or our thoughts, our beliefs. Those are some of the hardest ones really to open to, is to have an objective view of your belief. But if we can begin with the breath, just you and I right here, that's a pretty good place to start. So let's remove any thoughts of expectations or of doing something right or wrong. Some simple instructions can help. So move your body into a position where you are facilitating the easiest breath. Erecting the spine as much as you comfortably can. We don't want to stress or strain. Again, this is a nonviolent practice. So let's be aware of the way that we sit and how that may be affecting our stress levels in the moment. It's real simple stuff. If your legs being crossed is difficult and puts stress on the body, then maybe have a chair and put your legs flat to the chair and your feet flat to the floor, or stand up, or even lying on your back or on your side. The idea of this part of the practice is to be consciously aware that we are moving our body into a position to bring us in through a threshold. Similar to ceremonial practices in other ways. You know, when we go to our knees in prayer, it's not necessary for prayer. Going to your knees is not necessary for prayer, but when you go to your knees and you offer devotion, you are moving your body into a position that your body memory knows this is what I'm here to do today. In this moment, this is what I'm here to do. So moving ourselves into this position for this breath work is the same thing. Opening your shoulder blades by bringing them together. Opening your chest by bringing your shoulder blades together. Lifting the head so that your chin is level to the earth. And breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly. And release. When we release, it's important that we try to release every bit of air we have. When things are stuck, the body grasps. Breathing in and letting go. Breathing in, letting go. Receiving and letting go. Again, it comes back to the letting go. It comes back and comes back and comes back. But that's where the loving really is. The loving, the active use of love, to be listening to the voice when you ask the question, what does love ask of me today? It asks you to be loving. And that means letting go, loving even the end of whatever it is. And it's a practice that we practice here at Journey Home Meditation often. And it's a practice that I practice in my life. But it's funny how our practices can be overridden by our fear, our insecurity, our loneliness, our beliefs. And I think that's the most difficult thing, is that we have this understanding of health to mean that healing is no more sickness. That's where I think I'll speak for myself. That's where I gauge my experience of what it is to heal. It means to get beyond it, get past it. It's done. You've healed. It's resolution. But that's not what's ever, I think, occurring with us. I don't think there's a way to heal that which requires grieving. I think that the healing with grieving is the opening and accepting of the end, of the letting go. And the knowledge that it's going to keep coming up. It's going to keep coming up. And so when we are brought into those old wounds, those old places, and we become overwhelmed, I become overwhelmed sometimes. And everything that I think I am goes out the door. It's gone. And everything that I wish I weren't comes up because it needs to be seen. Not because I'm a failure, and not because I'm a fraud, not because I'm somehow broken. It comes up because this too is a part of who I am in my experience. It's not the greater of who I am, it's just these aspects of my experience, and they need to be seen. And when I don't want to see them, it comes out as suffering, not in love. It's not loving. So the practice then is to learn to love even this. And I think that in some ways that's what that Naomi Shihab Nye poem, Kindness, is talking about. It's not just about forgiveness, it's about allowance. You know, when these feelings of grief, these feelings of overwhelm, anger, rejection, sadness, avoidance, abandonment. Let's just fill out a resume here. This is my speed dating resume. What do you want to know about me? Some abandonment issues, some rejection issues? What do you got? What do you got? Some imposter syndrome? Sure, let's talk. But when they come up, it's not about forgiveness as much as it is about understanding what it is. And it may not ever go away. You may have these hints of an accent in your emotional vocabulary for the rest of your life. And the option then is what? To continue carrying resentment, shame, and guilt about that, or to sit with these things with loving tenderness and to love even this. And we have each other. We have each other in this life that come to us in these beautiful packages. And that's there for us to remember who we truly are. You know, we don't always get to see ourselves in the way that we are seen in the world. I know for myself, my inner voice and my experience of seeing myself has been very difficult in my life. So, um, so when we're seen, the practice is to receive. And when we are attached, the practice is to let go. It doesn't, I don't know, I'm not going to say what it doesn't mean anymore. It means, letting go means opening to receive even deeper. That's what it means. And to let go, you have to trust, you have to love. You know, and this comes up in all sorts of ways in our lives. It comes up over and over again. It comes up in jobs. It comes up in uh, friendships. It comes up in romances. It comes up in death and in loss, and how we have a set belief for the future that just goes away. All of a sudden, it just goes away. And we have to remember that it wasn't ours in the first place. It wasn't ours to keep, it was ours to experience. And if it's not ours to experience so that we are filled with love, so that we can bring more of that love into the world, then what is it for? And sometimes that's a painful experience. To be filled with love is a painful experience. But pain isn't lack of love. We think it is sometimes. Sometimes we think that this pain is a reminder of something that we hate, but it's not. It doesn't have to be. This pain could be a growing pain. I'm going to get to another poem. Let's get into Bell Hooks' Appalachian Elegy. Let's see what Bell Hooks has for us today. We're moving through all 66 of these over time, and today we are at number 8. These are little vignettes, little love letters to life through the lens of the place where Bell Hooks is from, recognizing her makeup. This is number 8. Let's see if Bell Hooks has the magic for us today to be relevant to what we're talking about. Snow-covered earth, such silence, still divine presence, echoes, immortal migrants, all life sustained. Darkness comes, suffering touches us. Again and again, there is pain. There, in the midst of such harsh bareness, a cardinal framed in the glass, red light, calling away despair, eternal promise. Everything changes and ends. Wow. It's amazing. One of the aspects of pain right now is taking place in the St. Louis area. There's I'm going to have a little bit more tea. Pardon me. Let's just sit for a second. Let's just sit and have some tea. One of the places where this pain lives right now is in the St. Louis area. Angela is there now, my wife, and there's endings that have come up. The death of parents, the ending of friendships, the loss of homes, the turmoil of feeling the disconnection from people and family, all of these things. And she's I'm suffering her being away from me. I'm suffering that separation, that distance as well. And it says, suffering touches us again and again. There is pain there in the midst of such harsh barrenness. A cardinal framed in the glass. Red light calling away despair. Eternal promise. Everything changes and ends. So if you know anything about St. Louis, the cardinal is the emblematic bird. Bird, of course, representing freedom and yeah. So thanks, Bell Hooks Magic. It's happening. But there it is again. The suffering touches us again and again. There is pain, and this is just going to be true. This is and I forget to keep my practice of being fully in the moment with the joy, with the ecstatic joy, with the feelings of deep love and admiration and all of these things. I forget to be so in the moment with them that I can remember that they have an end, that this is just a lively part of the greater symphony, right? This is yeah. And if I can remember each day to meditate on death, then I have at that time remembered the absolute beauty of each moment. And when the question is asked, what does love ask of me today? What does love require of me today? I think the answer is stop forcing it. Why are you struggling? Just let it in. That's got to be the answer. One of the teachers that I had that taught Taoism talked to me about that Tao, the practice of Taoism, the practice of the way, begins in utero, and we have a perfection of it. We have a perfection of the Tao from conception up until birth. And then at which point we forget everything and we have to start over that practice of that we had full knowledge of, full understanding of in utero, because it's that time when everything we need is freely given and everything we let go of is taken. And that has an ending, and that ending is dark and scary and loud and violent and aggressive and all of those things. It's painful, contracting, squeezing on us, taking away our breath. But that ending too is just the beginning. So let's do one more poem today. This is one. I'd just like to read this poem. This is Thirst by Mary Oliver. This is from the book Thirst, and this poem is, "When the roses speak, I pay attention." Now remember that Mary Oliver said attention is the beginning of devotion. Right? It's the beginning of devotion. So she says, when the roses speak, I pay attention. The practice there is she's offering devotion to the listening. As long as we are able to be extravagant, we will be hugely and damply extravagant. Then we will drop foil by foil to the ground. This is our unalterable task, and we do it joyfully. And they went on. Listen, the heart shackles are not as you think: death, illness, pain, unrequited hope, not loneliness, but lassitude, rue, vainglory, fear, anxiety, selfishness. Their fragrance all the while rising from their blind bodies, making me spin with joy. When the roses tell her, listen, the heart shackles are not as you think: death, illness, pain, unrequited hope, not loneliness. Because it feels so much like we are bound when we are feeling that pain. It's like, this feeling of emptiness in the chest, but that emptiness is actually openness. It's a moment of openness, like true openness. That pain is not what closes your heart. That pain is a function of it. That fear, that's where we bind our heart, is in the fear around that, the anxiety around that. But the pain, the discomfort, even the loss of something, even that loss, that's a function of our hearts. That's a function of my love. It's not a failure of it, and it's not a lack of it. And so all of those beliefs that you have of abandonment or rejection, all those beliefs that I have of abandonment and rejection and of not being enough, no, those are shackles. No, let that go. And understand that the pain that feeds those beliefs, it's actually a function of my love. And it's working. It's working. Your heart's working. It's doing what it does. Get angry. It's okay. Get sad. You're all right. Get confused. Why would you know who you are? Why? No, be confused. Be curious. Be a mess. Make a mess of your day. Yesterday I was a mess. I burnt rice. I burnt pizza I was making for the kids. I just messed up every little thing I touched. Dropped my phone in the bathtub. Bit my tongue so hard it was literally dripping blood from my mouth. And this morning, Angela reminded me just to be tender with myself because my executive function is all out of whack. It's not there, And she's right, because why would it be? Why would I expect myself to somehow have to conform to behaving in a certain way when everything in my being feels contracted, constricted? And then I remembered what it is, what contractions are. It's the birthing process. It's all right. Give yourself grace. It's okay. Something is coming out of this as something is leaving us. Be aware of each moment so that you don't miss it. Because it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. And the more we can witness it, the more we can stand and be ready for it, to open to it and to say, yes, even this, yes. The more we're going to know. It's going to become part of the territory of what it is to be a human. It's that region of kindness that Naomi Shihab Nye spoke of in the poem. Kindness begins with the three letters K-I-N, kin, kinship, kinfolk. We're talking about familiarity. How can we be familiar with something if we turn away from it? Face even this. I love you all so much. Thanks for being here today. Adios.